Okay. All right, Lizzie. We are going to turn things over to you for our election discussion. All right, Lizzie.
Hopefully,
What do we got going on with this election?
hope 2020 people, like we said at the top of the show, 3 days left until Tuesday's general election for President of the United States. We are just going to quickly recap what's been going on over the past couple of days. As of yesterday, Saturday, 91.6 million people, million Americans have gone out and done early voting, have already casted their vote. This is unprecedented in this country.
It
It's
is.
double almost double than what we had in 2016. So I want to put it out to Neo and Rob B. What do you think about this? Are you inspired by these numbers?
Robbie?
I think that the numbers make sense because your country is in complete disarray at this point in time. And I think that there's a lot of desperate people that either want to see change or there are a lot of people who are scared who don't want to see change. And both sides are coming out and voting hard. So I don't know that it's necessarily inspirational, but at least the voters, the people are getting out there to have their voice be heard. I really hope, hey, we got the right guy on the show.
This
Love
time.
it. It would have just been great if you could have moved your mouth while I was speaking.
No,
Try to pass that one off.
plagiarize there. Neil's trying to plagiarize there, get credit for Rob B's.
Yeah, for that comment. It's a great comment. I wasn't get
Yeah.
credit for
If anything, I am happy to see that the American people are getting out and they are trying to have their voices be heard. And I just hope that there won't be too many disruptions with the political system, and that it'll be a fair and above board election.
Yeah. So for me, so one of the most absolutely important things that the Democrats must do, because what we're learning from this is turnout is key, and turnout has always been key for Democrats, right? But if and assuming they ride the wave of voter turnout and Biden and the Senate and everyone else in the House, they take over the House. Going forward, what they're going to need to do is make sure that it's easy to vote. Because you look at these lines, and these lines are absolutely ridiculous. It has to be easier for people to vote, and they're going to have to figure that out. They might only have 2 years to do it too, because as soon as right now people are hate Trump. That's why they're coming out to vote. That's why they're willing to stand in 3-hour lines to get rid of Trump. That is the reason. Now, when we come midterms, there may not be that same enthusiasm from Democrats to stand in lines for 3 hours. So they're going to have to figure it out. This COVID times gave them a blueprint of how to make it work, but they're going to have to figure out how to make it easier to vote because, again, all these lines and even these are early voting lines. Let's keep that in mind. These are early voting lines, so there are going to be lines on election day as well. So the turnout is
Yeah.
fantastic. I think it's beautiful. I think it's
You
beautiful.
know what? It's exposing also with, early voting, with the high number of turnout, is that early voting, it started a week ago. For in terms of being able to actually stand online to vote. And so what is exposing is the high level of voter intimidation and voter suppression in this country.
Yep.
Because if without early voting, without all eyes on early voting for an entire week, we would only get this story about voter intimidation, voter suppression for one day on election day.
Mm-hmm.
But over the course of the past week, we've seen
Great
several
point.
stories across the country of various incidents of voter intimidation, suppression. We've had police officers going to polling sites, to cast their ballots, to place their vote with MAGA hats, with Trump paraphernalia. You're not supposed to have any political messages on your person in your hand
Yep.
when you go vote.
Election engineering. Yep.
You are law enforcement,
Yep.
particularly if you are an elected official. There have been incidents of people being turned away. There have been incidents of, we know all about how there are not as many polling stations open as there normally would be.
Yep.
The government is trying to say that's because of COVID. No, they're trying to get less people to vote. So all of that is being exposed, and all of that is something that we really need to pay attention to
Yep.
as we move forward in this democratic process.
Yep. And if you look at the voter turnout for young people, like since as of October 23rd, 5 million early voters of young people 18 to 29. I mean, that's phenomenal to me. I mean, they grew up with Trump and all this division and all these other things, and they are getting out and making their voices heard. I remember when Trump won, my nieces and nephews were devastated when Trump won. I mean, can you imagine like how they would feel if Trump were to win now? You know, that's why I'm glad. I mean, I think, you know, this may be a silver lining to a bad storm, but I think the Trump presidency has led to a lot of young people wanting to get involved in politics in general.
And it also, I think, leads to people seeing like once you go and vote, especially in the general election, you go and vote and you look at that ballot and you realize, okay, I'm not just voting for president.
Right.
I'm also
Yeah.
voting, if you
Yes.
live in the state, you're voting possibly for a congressperson, you're voting possibly for a Senate seat. You're also voting for, local people in your local area. Okay. So, in DC, for example, I mean, we don't have a Senate seat here, but, it's you vote for president and then you vote for the congressional seat and then you vote for city council seats. There are at large city council seats at
Hmm.
stake.
Yep.
There are ANC seats at stake. So it's not just about president.
It's not.
It's about what's going on in your state, in your neighborhood, your local communities. That's why it's very important for people to get out and vote.
Yeah, and that's to my earlier. I'm sorry, Rob. To my earlier point, as Lizzie was saying, getting out to vote. I mean, right now with this voter turnout, it's gonna, it's gonna. I believe the down ballot is going to be primarily Democratic because of this turnout, which is great. Because again, there needs to be a change of guard, simply because too many of the Republicans sided with Trump and his negativity and all that stuff. So there needs to be a change of guard in general. But come the midterms again, you know, where are we going to pull from this excitement? Well, this negative, infamous um, feeling towards Trump. Uh, there's going to have to be. They're going to have to figure something out. But I
And
mean,
that's how, again, you got to get the message out. Like voting is just the first step.
yeah,
It's like you when you want to go somewhere, you want to drive your car. It's just putting the key in the door.
yeah,
It's not getting you to your destination. You still have a whole series of steps that you have to take before you get to your destination, before you get to your end game. So let's all, get that key out, put it in the door, and let's go. Let's get
yeah.
started.
This is my actual ballot, by the way. Just want to point that out. But
Now, be careful out there, people posting your ballots. You have to take a look at what the rules are for posting ballots in your state, and don't post your name. Don't post anything that you're not supposed to, because the feds, they will come after you 100%.
they do try.
Absolutely. One comment that came up on our thread that I wanted to share, just when we were speaking about voter suppression and intimidation, there is a toll-free number if you are feeling intimidated or if you have questions about your credentials. 1-866 our vote. They have legal teams that are there to protect you and to help answer your questions.
Good point, Rob.
I'm going to get some comments online before we move on to the next topics. But so Ripka said, Rob B made sure to say your country. Yes, Rob B, we are ashamed. Don't rub it in. Paulette Bertrand said, we all feel for you. Ripka also said, let's remember Hillary won the popular vote. I'm just saying. Kevin Thaxton, there wasn't a line yesterday morning. Yeah, there wasn't a line when I went to vote as well. So, oh yeah, so Jacqueline Robinson posted the call number as well. Go ahead, Lizzie. What were we gonna say?
No, I